Good morning, Corpus Christi, Coastal Bend, and listeners worldwide. Welcome on in to another edition of the Sunday Sports Rush right here on News Talk KEYS 1440 AM and 98.7 FM. I'm your host, James Espinosa, joined alongside each and every Sunday, co-host, producer, Aiden Ducker.
What's Gucci with it?
We got Marcos Smadokeen with us this morning. What's up, Marcos?
What's up, James?
Feels good to be back. It's episode number 98. The road to 100 continues, and we are closer and closer and closer. Episode number 98. If you want to get in this morning on the text line, hit us up, 361-882-5397, 361-882-5397. The text line is open for you, the listening audience. Hit us up with all of your sports takes, questions, anything that you have for us. Hit us up on the text line, 361-882-5397. I'm sorry. Marcos is just like struggling in front of me. I have no idea what's happening. It looked like he almost fell out of his chair. But we're here. We're here this morning, so we're ready to have a good show. Coming up at 9:50, we have some Heisman Trophy talk and a small WTF segment. At 9:30, we got NFL headlines. Baker's crazy week that was for Baker Mayfield. The Cowboys blew out the Colts. We'll also mix in some Texans talk since it is Cowboys versus Texans game day.
Let's get that dub, baby.
12 noon right here on Keys, 11 a.m. pregame show. So we are the official, unofficial pregame show to the pregame show for Cowboys and Texans. At 9:20, we got the news. And then later on in the show at 10:30 a.m., RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys is going to join us on the 1440 Keys hotline, and we're going to talk some Cowboys with RJ Ochoa, a longtime friend of ours. He's been on our show multiple times. He hasn't been on our show, Aiden, since March.
Wow.
That's the last time. I looked it up. Hasn't been on our show since March. This is the first time we're visiting with him during the Cowboy season.
Yeah, RJ Ochoa, he loves to tweet to spark debates and whatnot.
Yeah.
Always good at that. You know, very engaging, so forth. Always a big supporter of the Cowboys, even Astros as well.
Oh, he's a big Astros fan for sure.
So always good to have him on. One of my favorite guests we get on. So glad to have him on.
Yeah, so that'll be going down at 10:30 a.m. All right, packed show coming up. Let's go ahead and kick things off because the World Cup was insane these past couple of days, ladies and gentlemen. 361-882-5397. Hit us up with your takes on the text line. The World Cup was wild. These past 2 days of World Cup soccer have been absolutely crazy. And going back to Thursday, let's see, when was it, Aiden? When was this? Wednesday? Yeah. Friday, I should say. Friday when the quarterfinals kicked off. Croatia, Brazil was the first one up. And the Croatians beat Brazil in penalty kicks. We have the audio courtesy of Fox Sports.
Hear a pin drop in here right now, Ian. And that's it! Brazil are out! Croatia do it again!
They did it again. Croatia back to the semifinals for a second consecutive World Cup. Brazil absolutely freezes in penalty kicks. You heard it right there on the audio. Off the post, doink. Reminiscent of that Chicago Bears kicker in the playoffs that one time, Cody Parkey. Man.
Oh, Bears fans.
That was like, that's a throwback. That's like 2016, 2017 throwback.
I mean, another infamous post is the 2006 World Cup, Italy versus France. One of their penalties was missed by France. That was a difference maker.
So Brazil was the favorites to win this World Cup, and they are now out. They are eliminated. Neymar and company gone. The comeback kings of Croatia. They've been behind in every knockout game before the final in 2018 and the same here in 2022. They have trailed, come back, and won in every knockout round game.
I gotta be honest. I never was a Neymar fan at all, and of course I was rooting for Croatia. But I kind of felt bad for him at the end because he scored that brilliant goal, and people thought, wow, Neymar's gonna lead Brazil past this tough Croatia team, and then Brazil concedes a late extra time goal.
It was like that was supposed to be Neymar's crowning moment.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
his signature moment so far as a as a player for Brazil,
and that goal did tie Pele's goals mark with Brazil with 77 total goals in a Brazilian jersey. So that was a historic goal. It could have been the winning goal, but it wasn't. So Brazil is done. Moving on to the next matchup, Argentina and the Netherlands. Talk about a crazy game. Argentina was up 2-0. The Netherlands get a goal in the 83rd minute to make it 2-1. And then they add 10 minutes of stoppage time. In the 10th minute of stoppage time, the Netherlands pull off one of the most insane free kicks I've ever seen. Instead of going high over the top of the wall, they went under the wall, and it was fitted quite nicely to Weghorst, who put it in the net. They tied it 2-2. It goes to penalty kicks, and Argentina advances 4-3 on penalty kicks. Argentina survives. The Messi World Cup dream is still alive. He's in the semifinals.
I don't care about Messi or Argentina.
It'll be Croatia versus Argentina in one of the semifinals.
Come on, Croatia, defining Luka Modric.
Yeah, the Lukas.
That was a controversial one, though. I know that for sure because of the 10 minutes of stoppage time.
Well, I mean, that's been the theme this past.
Yeah, it has.
At the same time, Argentina, you're up 2-0. You can't give up 2 goals.
Yeah, for sure. But I do know that they're adding a lot more penalty time this World Cup.
Oh yeah, like any time that's wasted in regulation, the ref's gonna add time to that.
It's been like an average of at least 7 minutes.
Yeah, it's been, but like that's not.
Gone are the days
what
where
it is.
extra time was like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
At most 5.
So Argentina advances, and
But
of course,
Argentina, they turn themselves from Messi. Overall, Messi's I guess likable. I'm not a Messi fan, but they turn themselves from like people who rooted for them because of Messi, and they turned themselves into villains.
Yeah,
the antics with Netherlands. This was all started by Argentina.
The way they were acting post-match.
They were saying that Netherlands was talking crap, but if you read the transcripts, Netherlands didn't really say anything different that that any other team would. If you're pre-gaming for a match.
The way Messi was celebrating in front of Louis van Gaal, the Netherlands manager.
By the way, he has cancer, so classy Messi.
Oh, Messi. That celebration was quite messy.
Yeah.
If you ask me.
Yeah, Argentina deserved to be humbled. They kind of got that, I kind of like the Suns, but I can understand why people hate them. It kind of got that Phoenix Suns thing going on.
Like,
you know what I'm talking about, right, James?
It's like they haven't won anything for them to be talking this much crap.
Exactly.
At least this current generation. Moving on to the Saturday games yesterday, the biggest upset probably in the World Cup so far, Morocco advances to the semifinals. They beat Portugal. We have the audio of their first goal, which happened in the 42nd minute. It was Niesri with the header to put up Morocco 1-0.
They use him here, they do. They need a good ball from the left back. Tiat Allah, and how about that? En-Nesyri for Morocco. The Moroccan dream is very much alive.
Love it. Love it. Derek Ray on the call. Brilliant call right there. Morocco wins 1-0. Let's go ahead and play the final moments as time ticks away. Morocco wins to become the first African nation to head to the World Cup semifinals.
Goal kick. All eyes now on the referee. It's official. An African breakthrough. Morocco are World Cup semi-finalists.
What a moment. Cristiano Ronaldo exited the stadium crying in tears through the tunnel. Might be the last time you ever see Cristiano in a Portugal jersey of any magnitude. Morocco 1-0. They go to the semifinals. Absolutely stunning.
I'm not a Ronaldo fan either. Just as how I'm not a Messi fan, but I kind of felt bad for Ronaldo at the end. He got criticized for being benched last couple games, and
I
mean, at least Portugal got the 2016 Euro title look back on.
I guess so. They did raise one cup in 2016, the Euro Championships, like you mentioned.
At the same time, that was a good game in Portugal. They nearly equalized it. Beautiful save by the Morocco goalkeeper.
And that's a good job by the defensemen of Morocco all day. I mean, they had 74% possession, Portugal. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
To lose a game with 74% time of possession.
Yeah, that's wild. And Morocco, you mentioned, only had, 24% possession.
Yes, and
They get the goal when they needed it, and they defended their asses off.
Yeah.
So shout out to Morocco. Last game was yesterday afternoon. France 2, England 1. France goes up 2-0. They get a brilliant goal by Tchouaméni in the 17th minute, and then Giroud gets a goal in the 78th. Harry Kane, though, had a penalty in the 54th, so it's 2-1. But then in the 83rd minute, Kane has an opportunity to tie it up, and this is what happened.
No, he missed it.
Sailed it.
Goodness. Oh, my goodness. This is part of that psychology.
Sailed it over the goalpost.
That was just a big yips, man. You feel bad for him. Do you really feel bad for English fans? Nah.
I kind of do because
I mean, yeah, but
in a way I can relate to English fans because English soccer is like the equivalent of the Dallas Cowboys.
yeah, exactly.
They're hyped every year, hyped every tournament. They're expected to go far, but then they end up falling flat on their face somehow. And now Harry Kane goes into English lore as the guy who missed the penalty that could have tied it up against France.
You know what's the thing is too is that I feel like England got a bad draw in terms of like the bracket facing France in the quarterfinals because I thought England was probably like the second best team. Like I think they're better than Argentina.
So England was a semifinalist in the last World Cup. Now they're out in the quarterfinals.
I feel like England should have been put in the Morocco-Portugal bracket and whatnot.
So who do we have? We have France versus Morocco. We have Argentina versus Croatia. Who makes the finals, Aiden?
Oh man, you know the last World Cup final was Croatia and France.
Yeah, we could have a rematch.
I think we'll have a rematch.
Wow.
But I feel like this is gonna lean towards Argentina. They've been they've been selling later in the second half. I think it's gonna come back to bite them against a better Croatia team.
Okay. So
And then France is they're just too talented. And I feel like Morocco. I feel like they're. I'm not saying they're in over their heads because they performed well, but I feel like they're gonna see a way different team with much more talent. Throughout, more skilled players.
Morocco.
And I think it's going to be a little bit too much for Morocco. I think France would.
Quick note on Morocco. Morocco is unbeaten in the World Cup. They drew against Croatia in group stage. They beat Belgium. They beat Canada. They beat Spain. They've beaten Portugal. They have not lost. You look at that.
team.
You look at that lineup. Belgium, Spain, and Portugal, 3 wins for Morocco right there.
I mean,
That's crazy.
it's
That's
impressive,
impressive.
but France is the defending champs. They know
Yeah.
they've been there.
I think I'm going to go with France and Argentina in the final.
that's what I had.
I think France-Argentina will be in the final, and that will be happening next weekend at 9 a.m. on Sunday. So we're going to have it on here in the studio, and we'll be keeping you up to speed on everything World Cup with that. So there we go. That's our World Cup segment, breaking it down. Crazy couple of days in World Cup out in Qatar, out in Doha. And yeah, man, that was a crazy, crazy thing, but there was even something crazier that happened in Doha involving an American journalist. We're going to talk about that in the 920 news. Get your takes in 361-882-5397. Hit us up on the text line. We're talking all sports. It's Cowboys game day, Cowboys versus Texans. Let us know your thoughts on the Cowboys. Who wins today between the Cowboys and Texans? But coming up next, it's the 920 news. Keep it right here. Welcome back to the Sunday Sports Rush News Talk KEYS. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll have some NFL headlines heading into week number 14, Baker Mayfield's crazy week. We'll dive into that in 15 minutes time. 361-882-5397. Hit us up on the text line. Let us know your thoughts on everything sports. We're taking your thoughts. We're taking your questions. We're taking your opinions on the text line. 361-882-5397. Don't forget, RJ Ochoa will be coming up at 10:30, blogging the boys, talking to RJ Ochoa on everything Dallas Cowboys and Cowboys versus Texans.
Don't miss it.
Don't miss it. That is right. Damn right about that. James Espinosa, Aiden Ducker, Marcos Matakin with you till 11 a.m. All right. Let's go ahead and let's jump right into the 920 news.
There's a lot of news.
And now the news.
All right. Yeah, just a little bit. It's all good. So 920 news, here we are. Shout out to Army. They defeated Navy yesterday 20-17 in overtime. The lone FBS college football game on the slate yesterday. I love this game every single year. I love the pageantry. I love the passion. I love seeing the two armed forces teams going at it. I love seeing the cadets and everybody in the crowd. Just an absolute amazing scene, something that you should probably watch each and every year. Well, Army wins 20-17 in overtime, and the first pass completed in this game, didn't take place until 9 minutes and 57 seconds left in the fourth quarter. It was just run, pound. Overtime was pretty fun, but Army walks away.
I gotta play this. There you go.
Congratulations, Army. Army did it. Shout out to all the Army folks out there. They got their dub yesterday. The over actually hit in this game. 32.5 points was the over-under for points scored. The over hit in this game for the first time in 16 years. It was a barn burner. Barn burner of a game, so Army goes ahead and gets the W. Just wanted to shout that out real quick.
Should I keep this rolling? Might as well, right? It's up to you.
Maybe, because we're about to transition into kind of a little bit of a darker story here involving U.S. soccer journalist Grant Wahl. Did y'all guys hear this story over the past couple of days? The news broke Friday night, I believe, and Grant Wahl passed away, died unexpectedly, suddenly, while he was covering the Argentina and Netherlands game out in Qatar. Grant Wahl, of course, one of the most well-known soccer writers in the United States, passes away at the age of 48. Now, this is what happened. According to U.S. media that was seated near him, said that Wahl fell back in his seat in the press box at Lusail Iconic Stadium during extra time, and reporters adjacent to him called for assistance. Emergency service workers responded very quickly, the reporter said, and they were later told that Wahl had died. Now, this is very shocking. Very, very shocking, and a lot of people in the media have come out and gave their condolences. Even LeBron James spoke on Grant Wahl's death because Grant Wahl, when he was working for Sports Illustrated back in the late 90s, early 2000s, he's the one that wrote the cover story for Sports Illustrated with LeBron James on it titled The Chosen One. He covered LeBron. He followed LeBron for a month or two and wrote that story. And it's just kind of insane because there is some talks out there that there could have been...
well, the brother thinks there's foul play involved. Yeah, and so that's what he said. He posted Instagram Live. I think that's how most people found out, was that Instagram Live.
Yeah, and if you're wondering why foul play...
He also... It was weird because he had stopped tweeting after Netherlands tied it.
Yeah.
And he was tweeting throughout the game, and so, it was unusual.
He was an advocate for LGBTQ rights.
Earlier in the World Cup, he got kicked out for wearing a pride shirt or something along the lines of that.
And so there is speculation, nothing concrete, of course. It's still being investigated, but there is speculation that, like Aiden just said, that foul play could have been involved. I mean, I don't know. This is just
at the same time you would hope
crazy
to bring his body back as soon as possible to get like an autopsy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible, but from what is being reported, it sounds like he just he collapsed on his own. I mean,
they said
who knows? I rather wait this out to not speculate. And
they said Grant Wahl actually said on a podcast that he did live from Qatar, because he was podcasting, he was writing every single day while he was at the World Cup. He said that he was battling bronchitis for the past week or so, and that he had visited the medical centers in Qatar for the media, and he had tested negative for COVID. So he didn't have COVID. He didn't have nothing like that. He was just battling a bad case of bronchitis, according to Grant Wahl. And then this happens, and it's just kind of insane, man. Grant Wahl covered 8 World Cups. His first World Cup covered was back in 1998. So the fact that this happened at a World Cup and in a country like Qatar, and with the things that Grant Wahl was advocating for, it It is. It's speculation, of course, out there, but I think it's something that needs to be investigated for sure to find out the truth on what happened to Grant Wahl. So R.I.P. to Grant Wahl.
Yeah, either way, rest in peace. I mean, he was a legend in the not only the sports world but the world.
Go ahead.
His contributions were like you can't put a number to his contribution to the world.
He helped grow the game of soccer in the United States. And I, for one, when I was a young man, I used to listen to his podcast, and he's the one that kind of got me on the up and up on soccer, and he's the one that made me a little bit more of a smarter soccer fan.
I mean, we were talking about it during the break, how his name didn't click with the picture of his face right away in my brain, and I looked him up immediately, and it clicked. Everything clicked for me. His face is synonymous with American soccer culture.
Yes.
With American sports culture. And it's just a tragic situation.
Very.
And condolences to him and his family and everyone that is involved in this.
Very, very tragic. Yes. So R.I.P. Grant Wahl, age 48. Moving on, another big story that happened this past week in sports. Brittney Griner has returned to America in a prisoner swap with Russia. So we, the United States, traded away the Merchant of Death, Victor Boot. For Brittney Griner. Now, Brittney Griner is back in American soil. She's here. She's home. And Victor Boot is now back in Russia.
Honestly,
go ahead, Marcos, real quick.
I mean, obviously it's a tough situation, and none of us here are qualified to talk about this. But at the very base level, I'm glad we have an American back home that was being unrightfully, captured, held
detained
in another country.
I can agree with that fact.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Looking at the pictures of Victor Boot, the one where he has like a brown mustache is the older photo of him. The newer photos, he's all like gray and whatnot. But this is Gary Oldman, straight up. Gary Oldman is known for playing. He's a great actor. He can play anything, but he's known for these. These European/Russian villains and whatnot. And I'm looking at this guy. I was like, okay, this is like if there was a movie about this, Gary Oldman's playing him.
Yeah.
And Gary Oldman's an intimidating guy when he's a villain. And so, yeah, Merchant of Death.
Merchant of Death. Hey,
Russia's gonna use him.
Is he immediately on the front lines in Ukraine?
I would assume so.
I mean, just think about it. You get a big time player like that, you got to insert him into the lineup.
Oh gosh.
I mean,
did we get cash considerations?
Yeah. What did we get back? Nothing. It was just straight up, right? And I know a lot of people were upset that the other American didn't come back home, Waylon, the Marine.
They say that's a way more complicated situation.
I mean, getting back a soldier that was doing reconnaissance is probably a little bit tougher than a WNBA player.
Before we hit the break, is Merchant of Death one of the most badass gangster names you could ever have?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just pretty straightforward.
You got street cred up the wazoo.
That's just pretty straightforward. You know what I mean? It's Merchant of Death. So there we go. That wraps up the 920 news. A little bit of a somber 920 news, but I wanted to, pay the respects to Grant Wahl. R.I.P. Grant Wahl, age 48, gone way too soon. That wraps up 920 news. Coming up next, we do have some NFL headlines heading into Week 14. Baker Mayfield is back, baby. We talk that. We talk some Cowboys and Texans, all that and more after the break. Welcome back to the Sunday Sports Rush, episode number 98. It's James Espinosa, Aiden Ducker, and Marcos Matakin with you all the way till 11 a.m. At 10:30, we'll have RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys on the line to talk some Cowboys, latest rumors involving that team, and he'll help us talk a little bit of Cowboys and Texans. 12 o'clock Cowboys kickoff right here on Keys with 11 a.m. pregame as soon as the Sunday Sports Rush is over. All right, so NFL headlines. Let's go ahead and dive into that. And if you have any takes, hit us up on the text line, 361-882-5397. Who wins today's game? Cowboys versus Texans. What are some of your bold predictions for today's contest between the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans? 361-882-5397. All right, let's dive right into some NFL talk. NFL talk here. So last week, last Sunday, I should say, Jimmy G went down with an injury for the 49ers. It was a Liz Frank injury, but he could possibly return because the injury wasn't as bad as initially suspected. Jimmy G possibly could return if the Niners make a deep playoff run. So
well,
now
I don't think it was a Liz Frank injury. I think he he fractured something in his foot. If it was a Liz Frank injury, he's done.
Yes.
That's like the number one foot injury that will sideline a player for the rest of the year.
So Jimmy G avoids the Liz Frank injury. Thank you, Aiden, for that correction. And now Brock Purdy is going to be the 49ers starting quarterback.
Purdy.
Wasn't he like Mr. Irrelevant?
Yeah, he was the last pick in the NFL draft.
Wow, that's crazy.
Iowa State, right?
Yep, former Iowa State
Brock.
Cyclone.
That's just a QB name if I ever heard one.
And the 49ers last week got the win against the Dolphins. So, and Brock Purdy played the majority of the game.
He didn't do a bad job. I mean, I heard a lot of people talking about how whenever you play in Shanahan's offense and you play it the way that he tells you and you have a little bit of mobility, then you will have some level of success. And he had that success and, he got them the win. So that's good for him.
Yeah, so pretty good stuff right there. And if you're a Cowboys fan out there, if you're any other NFC contending fan out there like the Vikings or the Eagles, this is good news for you because, hey, a rookie quarterback starting for the 49ers, I think I'd take my chances with that.
I'm still scared of that team, though.
Yeah, they're still scary. Don't get me wrong. That defense is really good. That run game is phenomenal. But you have a little bit of a better chance, in my opinion, with a rookie quarterback starting as opposed to Jimmy G, who has made Super Bowls and NFC title appearances in the past. Another news item to get to here in NFL headlines. The Falcons are benching Marcus Mariota, and they're going to start rookie quarterback Desmond Ridder.
Thank goodness, man. Gosh, the Falcons. When the Bucs, you see, this is how Tom Brady's the luckiest quarterback ever. They're 6-6 and they're first place in the division. The Pats are 6-6 and they're in last place.
Yeah,
that's how lucky Tom Brady is.
And so Ritter's going to be the starting quarterback today for the Falcons. Going to make his first ever start, and it's about time.
You just they need to inject life into that team some way, somehow, because they've won enough games so they're not going to get the number one pick. So there's no point in tanking.
They got to see what they got in this young kid and see what he can do against NFL defenses.
They've been weirdly good.
Yeah. They're a strange team.
And I know Kyle Pitts is injured, but it reminds me, that one gif of Kevin Nash in the wheelchair pretending he's injured, and then he comes out and he's not.
I mean, Marcus Mariota could not. Marcus Mariota. Sorry, I'm getting Marcus and Marcos confused here. Marcus Mariota, for whatever reason, just was not finding Kyle Pitts. And as a Kyle Pitts fantasy owner, that was very upsetting to me.
Well, they throw the ball like 10 times a game.
That too. Maybe Ridder will come in and inject some life, like Aiden said, into this offense. The top story of this past week occurred on Thursday Night Football. The Rams defeat the Raiders 17-16. Baker freaking Mayfield completes a 98-yard game-winning drive. Baker Mayfield, not even a Ram for 2 days, gets into the game and gets the Rams the victory. What a damn story this is. This is sports. This is why we love sports, for opportunities like this, for moments like this, to witness this. Baker, much maligned, had his issues in Cleveland. The whole Panthers situation was a big mess from the organization from top to bottom. They get rid of Matt Rule. They bench him for P.J. Washington or whatever. P.J. Walker and Sam Darnold. Now he hooks up with McVay. And he did not look bad. He looked pretty decent in that McVay offense.
Everybody looks decent against the Raiders defense.
Well, yeah, but still, I mean, give him
credit. I hate to, okay, I'll give him some credit because they did win the game, but this speaks a lot about the Raiders.
Hold up.
Would you agree? It speaks a lot about the Raiders. It does speak a lot
about the Raiders. And
trash team.
Their defense has looked horrendous at times, but you could tell by the reaction of NFL stars on Twitter and around the league that everyone praising Baker Mayfield. This is one of the most impressive things they've ever seen, because playing the quarterback position is the hardest position to play in the NFL.
Unless you're Brady. But
and in this sport, in almost any sport, it's the hardest position to play, especially whenever you've only had 2 days on that team, 2 days in that system. less than 2 days in that offense, in that playbook. I mean, he landed at like 8 o'clock on Tuesday morning, and he's playing at like 6 o'clock on Thursday night.
Yeah, that's insane, man. He went 22 of 35, 230 yards, 1 touchdown for Baker Mayfield, that 1 touchdown to Van Jefferson, which won the game with 1:35 left.
And I know, and it also helps that he actually has an actual head coach that knows how to coach an offense.
Now,
I know the Rams have injuries.
Hear my theory out right here. Here is a theory that I have that I want to float out there and get your guys' reaction on it. There's rumors out there that Matthew Stafford could retire at the end of the season due to an accumulation of injuries and such. I think that if Matthew Stafford is really thinking about this, this is why the Rams took a shot on Baker Mayfield, because they want to see for these next 4 to 5 games, can Baker run this offense under Sean McVay? And if he can, then maybe they give Baker Mayfield a 2 to 3 year deal to be the guy in Los Angeles post Matthew Stafford. Just think about that. Think about that. That could be a long-term play, but I could definitely see that happening, especially under Sean McVay. Maybe this is the revitalization of Baker Mayfield's career. Look at what he did under Lincoln Riley, who's an offensive genius. Yeah. Put up the greatest numbers he's ever put up in college. Another offensive genius like Sean McVay, maybe these guys can just unlock those qualities in Baker that others can't.
I think this is a great place for Baker. I think it fits his personality well. You know, the commercial, the guy that you see in all those commercials and everything.
And then he headbutted a ram without his helmet on, like a crazy ass.
Yeah, he was going crazy. But like,
I need to see it. I need to see an epic mid-off between the Saints and the Raiders. I just want to see like the bad coaching decisions and just the epic calamity on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. What were you getting at, Marcos?
But yeah, back on your point, James. I mean, Matthew Stafford has had a great career. He's getting older. You know, there's no guarantees that he's going to be able to be the Matthew Stafford of old after all those injuries that he's had. And yes, he is relatively young, but he's had a long career.
Yeah, true.
You know,
he's
had a long career. He took a lot of hits in Detroit. You know, that bangs up your body. And look at what happened with Andrew Luck. And he had to retire early because he got hit so much. And Matthew Stafford's a tough guy, but you can only take so many beatings.
Yeah, no, you're right about that.
Baker Mayfield would be a competent replacement. And why not? Why not sign him for this year? I mean, they don't have their draft picks for like the next 3 years?
Something like that.
Yeah.
The Rams are pretty screwed when it comes to draft picks coming up in the next several years. So we'll see what happens with the Baker situation.
We saw this coming. They had to go all in last year, and it paid off. So, I mean, if you're a Cowboys fan, you would ask for a Super Bowl, and you know.
Yeah, you'd ask for a Super Bowl, but you know, and banners hang forever, so we're never going to take that away from the Rams. But now they're living post Super Bowl.
This is like the worst. Like
they're going to have to live with this.
Defending Super Bowl champions since like the Bucks in 2003, I guess.
Something like that. Yeah.
But they've been saving by injury. I think the Rams, fully healthy, are a better team. Not as good as last year, obviously, but I think they're in the playoff hunt. But they're out of it right now, so.
So let's go ahead and move on from that topic. Real quickly, it's Cowboys and Texans today. We have our Texans fan in here, Marcos Matakin. Marcos, what are your thoughts on Cowboys and Texans?
I think that
this is a little preview.
This Texans
This
team,
is just going to be like a mini preview.
Yeah, I think this Texans team is revitalized. I think that they are. Davis Mills
is back.
Yeah, he's back.
He won his job back from Kyle Allen, who
big locker room guy. I could see them winning by 50 points.
You can see what?
50. They're going to drop 50.
The Texans.
The Cowboys are winning by 50? 15?
Davis Mills.
You cannot be serious.
What?
Are you putting that? We're making predictions right now, right? Are we?
No, we're not going to make a prediction right now. We're going to save that for.
We're getting Marcos.
Yeah, I'm just getting Marcos's take on the Texans and what he really.
I will say,
Damian Pierce might actually like.
I will say though, the Texans in terms of like, because I started Zay Jones against them last. I think was it last week or whatnot or not Zay Jones. I started Amari Cooper. Yeah. And the Texans limited his passing. And they limited Deshaun Watson in the air, although he threw a lot.
Deshaun Watson hadn't played in 700 days.
But the Texans were like third least points allowed. I think their secondary is good. It's just their run defense.
Yeah, we have a good secondary.
Yeah,
and we have a pretty good passing defense. And But our pass rush is
But y'all's
horrible.
run defense is
Our
abysmal.
run defense is arguably the worst in like NFL.
So
history.
Zeke and Pollard should be able to eat today.
Like,
Yes, take the
you know
over.
that gif of Zeke eating that cereal and whatnot,
Yes.
and like a madman. That's what's gonna happen. I don't even think Dak Prescott gets 200 passing yards.
No, he honestly might not. No, I'm
No,
being dead
no.
serious.
No,
they
they're
might
gonna
rush
run
for
the ball
400
down their
yards.
throats, dude.
They might rush for 400 yards. I'm being dead serious, James. They might rush for 400 yards. Dak Prescott might throw the ball
James,
for 5
if
yards.
you're blowing
like
out a
5 times.
team, you want your quarterback to not have as many yards.
Well, I
if
know
you're
that,
blowing-
but I
yeah.
mean, come on. I think he'd get maybe like 215 to 225, and we'll call it a day. Under 200, come on, man, that's
Dude,
fair.
They're running. I mean,
For fantasy, they're allowing the second least amount of points to quarterbacks in
Oh,
fantasy.
man,
Okay,
I don't
well-
even want to talk about fantasy right
Well,
now.
we'll see. We'll see.
Even though I
It's
brought
just
it
like
up.
it's just like the stats.
Yeah,
you know?
we'll see what happens.
James and Alex know what happened to me last week.
The Cowboys, of course, are coming off of a big blowout win against the Colts, 54-19, where they scored 33 points in the fourth quarter. An absurd beatdown. That's tied for the largest fourth quarter score in NFL history. The Cowboys had 5 takeaways. Pollard had 2 touchdowns. Gallup had 2 touchdowns. CD had a touchdown. Zeke had a touchdown. Hooker had a touchdown. Plus an INT. Deron Bland had 2 interceptions. And then we also had that badass Zeke in the box celebration, which was pretty epic.
And the Salvation Army jug, or whatever you call
Yeah,
it.
so that was epic. And look, the Cowboys are rolling right now, man. The Cowboys have been putting in some damn work, and you know, the Cowboys are doing their thing. They're winners of 3 in a row, and they should beat the Texans today handily. They're a 17-point favorite against the Texans.
I just want to.
That's a lot of points.
That's the biggest line I think I've
Yeah.
seen this year.
Big line.
I just
Yeah.
want to brag on myself though. Last week I did say they're gonna keep it tight until the fourth quarter, and the Cowboys are gonna pull away.
You did say that. I told Aiden that off air that you got it spot on.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, broken clocks are always right twice a day. So.
Give him his
But,
credit.
Yeah.
look, the Cowboys made that one get real messy real fast, and they made it get that way.
Yeah.
They did a great job getting turnovers and taking advantage of them whenever they needed to.
So there we go. We're
Yeah.
gonna pick our Cowboys and Texans game coming up at 10 a.m. when
I
we
gave
have
Alex crap. I'm giving you crap too.
when we have Alex
love.
Weister on the line at 10 a.m. when we make our NFL picks. So there we go. That's going to wrap up our NFL headlines segment. Coming up next, we're going to talk some college football. Caleb Williams is the Heisman Trophy winner. We finally have our college football playoff bracket. We'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll dive into a quick, tiny WTF. So keep it locked to the Sunday Sports Rush. Welcome back to the Sunday Sports Rush. It's episode 98. We're on the road to 100. James Espinosa, Aiden Ducker, and Marcos Matakin with you all the way till 11 a.m. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll have our NFL Week 14 Pick'em. Alex Weister will join us on the line from Denton from the DFW. And we'll make some picks for week number 14. Coming up in the second hour at 10:30, we have RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys. He'll join us to talk some Dallas Cowboys and some Houston Texans. We'll get his expertise analysis. Always a good time talking to RJ Ochoa. That's coming up at 10:30, so make sure you keep it locked for that. Right now, I wanted to dive into just a little bit of college football. I love that music. Love the SEC on CBS theme song. All right, so college football news. Last night was the Heisman Trophy ceremony. And Caleb Williams, quarterback of USC, wins the Heisman. Caleb Williams did it. And I'll just say something real quickly. I predicted this when we did our college football prediction show back in August. I said Caleb Williams would win the Heisman.
You said USC would make the playoff.
I did say they'd make the playoff. I got that one wrong, but I did nail Caleb Williams winning the Heisman Trophy.
And then you got Michigan in too, so.
And I nailed the Michigan one also. I said they go back-to-back Big Ten championships and make the playoffs.
Like I say, Marcos, broken clocks are right twice a day.
No, dude,
so.
I know my stuff here.
No, the USC one, they were what, 11-2?
They were one game away from making it. I could have had all 3. I was so close.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
So close. And I did say Michigan would smash Ohio State again, which they did. So
Fine.
I will take my flowers.
Fine, here your
James.
stupid flowers.
There we go. Big claps.
Small claps.
Okay, small claps. So Caleb Williams wins it. He threw for 4,075 passing yards, 37 passing touchdowns, and rushed for 372 yards and 10 rushing touchdowns this year. He only threw 4 interceptions. He's the first USC Heisman winner since 2005, which was Reggie Bush. And now you look at Lincoln Riley and what he's been able to do as a college head coach. He's coached 3 Heisman winners: Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and now Caleb Williams. So Lincoln Riley, he knows what he's doing when he gets his hands on some quarterbacks. And
Yeah, I just wish he knew how to get a defensive coaching staff.
yeah, USC definitely needs to work on their defense. I will say that for
was
sure.
abysmal. I know we talked about it last week already, but gosh, man, I just don't like seeing bad tackling.
We have Caleb Williams audio from last night. He gave a shout out to the other 3 Heisman candidates: Max Duggan, CJ Stroud, and Stetson Bennett. And he ended his speech with a little bit of a joke. I thought this was funny. Here's the audio courtesy of ESPN.
When I went to Georgia on my visits and him being my host, which is kind of funny that I'm up here with him now. But we've all been through this journey these past couple of days together. And I may be standing up here today, but y'all get to go to college football playoffs.
That's pretty good. That's good stuff right there. Some self-deprecation from a young man like that who just won the Heisman. He said, yeah, I'm up here with the Heisman, but y'all 3 are getting to go to the playoffs.
I like it, but Lincoln Riley, I assume, was there, right? Did he like that?
I don't know if Lincoln liked it.
I hope he didn't like that.
He was up there.
I hope he's bitter and miserable.
Well, I guess so. You have a thing against Lincoln Riley.
Yes,
I do. It's
I
kind of weird, but he's a great head coach, and
it's not weird. He is proven to be a two-face. It's proven.
I mean, I guess so. You could have your discretions against Lincoln Riley all you want.
He didn't like the transfer portal. Remember that one quarterback he held back that wanted to transfer?
Yes.
And I think that's why they opened it up, just because of what he did.
Well, maybe so, but you can't take away what he's been able to produce.
He's an offensive guru.
He is.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, 3 Heisman winners. Yeah, I think that speaks volume for his offensive success. The fact that he was able to take USC to 11 wins this year and on the cusp of the playoff is also another mark of a great coach. You can't take that away from Lincoln Riley. Speaking of playoffs, last week when we got off the air, the college football playoffs were announced.
Man, y'all really tried to make a debate, huh?
And Alabama did not get in.
Not even close to being considered.
It's going to be number 1 Georgia against number 4 Ohio State, number 2 Michigan against number 3 TCU. Now, when we look at this playoff, Georgia and Ohio State, very intriguing. I'm not automatically saying Georgia's going to win because Ohio State on any given day with that offense, they can run with Georgia. I think that's going to be a very competitive ball game, a lot closer than a lot of people might think. I'm not saying Ohio State's going to win, but I don't necessarily think Georgia cakewalks into the final.
I don't think so either.
Georgia probably wins by 2 touchdowns. They really needed that Jackson Smith enigma to come back. And and he's not going to. He's out. That injury that he has is not going to be well enough and for him to play, and so he's entered the draft.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see CJ Stroud out there in the playoffs. I think that's going to be fun to watch.
This is a chance for him to get his draft stock up.
Well,
a lot of people are sinking on CJ and starting to go to Bryce a lot more for the NFL draft.
Yeah.
So this is a chance for him to get some more signing bonus for the draft next year, go up some spots, maybe go to a different team, but yeah, I'm expecting Ohio State to compete. I'm not expecting Georgia to have a cakewalk at all.
I think Georgia pulls away if I were to predict it.
What about when we talk about Michigan and TCU? Does TCU stand any chance to hang with Michigan, or is this going to be the blowout semifinal game that we tend to see year after year?
I think it's going to be a tight game, man. I think, Michigan, it's not like they've had a couple of close games too. Remember they almost lost to Illinois.
That's true.
They had another tight game. I forgot which team it was, but yeah, I think Sonny Dykes did get his boys to play and whatnot, and as much as I predicted, I think Michigan's the favorite. Yeah,
Michigan will be the favorite, of course. But as much as I predicted Michigan to win back-to-back Big Ten titles, my heart is going to be rooting for Max Duggan and TCU.
Oh, yeah.
I just love Max Duggan. I love the heart, the attitude that he has. He's He reminds me a lot of like a Tony Romo type of player. You know, he might not be the most skilled, but he's able to just will his team forward and make plays when he has to and use his legs. I think TCU can keep it close as well. But if I had to make a prediction right now,
Michigan by like 7, right?
I think Michigan wins the game.
Yeah.
I think in the end, we're probably going to see a Georgia and Michigan national championship game.
A rematch of the blowout semifinal last year.
Yeah. That they did meet in the semis last year, but I'm excited about TCU. They're the first Big 12 team, or excuse me, the first Texas team to make a college football playoff. And that's pretty awesome. Yeah. Texas has never made it. Texas A&M has never made it. TCU's the first Texas team to make a college football playoff, so that's pretty cool right there. So there's some Texas boys. They're from the Big 12. I'll be rooting for the Horned Frogs when that time comes later on this month. So, yeah, pretty excited about college football coming up. Pretty excited about everything. Speaking of more college football, Texas is going to be playing in the Alamo Bowl again against Washington. They'll be playing the Washington Huskies in the Alamo Bowl.
It's always a Big 12 and a Pac-12 team every year, and it's usually either Texas or
somebody
or Tech or whatnot, or I don't know.
So that game will be going down on December the 29th.
I went to see Oregon and Texas in 2013. Mac Brown's last game as a Longhorns head coach.
Who won that game?
Oregon.
Damn, for real?
Yeah, by like a couple touchdowns.
Who was on that Oregon team?
Mariota.
Wow.
Yeah, they were pretty good.
Who was their stud running back then?
I mean, they had plenty of Byron Marshall as a receiver.
Damn.
There was a running back committee.
So Texas will be playing Washington in the Alamo Bowl December the 29th, 8 p.m. up in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome. I've always been curious to go see a bowl game. I think that'd be fun. I don't know. It's kind of
the atmosphere is just different.
And it's going to be fun in the Alamo Dome. I mean, there'll be a lot of Texas fans there.
Do we have a quick WTF real quick?
Actually, no, we don't. We're not going to have enough time for that. WTF was kind of dry this week, so
we scoured through the interwebs and nothing crazy popped up.
Nothing at all. So we'll get to some WTF next week, but I just kind of want to give a little bit of a college football spotlight with Caleb Williams winning the Heisman and our thoughts on the college football playoff Final Four. Georgia versus Ohio State, Michigan versus TCU. That's going to be going down later this month. So there we go. That wraps up this segment, and that wraps up hour number 1 of the Sunday Sports Rush. Coming up next, we'll have NFL Pick'em with Alex Weister on the line. There's a couple of us who are tied for the lead in Pick'em. I'll reveal the standings after the break. Keep it locked right here. You're listening to the Sunday Sports Rush. Good morning, Corpus Christi, Coastal Bend, and listeners worldwide. Welcome on in to another hour of the Sunday Sports Rush right here on News Talk KEYS 1440 AM and 98.7 FM. I'm your host, James Espinosa, joined by producer and co-host Aiden Ducker.
Cougars, I love Cougars.
It's hour number 2 of the Sports Rush, and we are here. Marcos Matakin, of course, is here with us in the building. Coming up at 10:30, we'll have RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys on with us to talk the latest Cowboys rumors, who's coming back from injury, what can we expect out of the Cowboys going forward, and we'll also talk a little bit of Cowboys and Texans. That game is going down at 12 noon right here on Keys with an 11 a.m. pregame as soon as the Sunday Sports Rush concludes. So make sure you keep it locked to Keys. We are your official home of the Dallas Cowboys. Right now, though, on the 1440 Keys hotline, we have Alex Weister joining us. Alex Weister of UNT, Alex Weister of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. He's on the line. What's up, Alex? Good morning.
Appreciate it, man. I'm already missing being on the show, and it's only been a week.
I know, dude. Last week was so fun. It was awesome to see you, but you're back to your reality now up in UNT. Yep. How are the final weeks of the semester going for you?
It's been up and down. I've really only had one problem with one of my final projects, but that's about it. Otherwise, I should finish pretty strong and be back down there and few days.
There we go. We'll be looking forward to having you back down, of course, for the winter break.
So you're gonna be traveling back this week, right? You said.
Yeah. I'm guessing Wednesday morning.
Oh, okay. You're
Nice.
planning to be live.
Maybe at some point with us again.
Or maybe every Sunday that I'm there.
There we go. I love it. Alex Weister.
We should. Before we move on, man, don't you? Dotson and Kalen, when they host, they always say this. That we should record our off-air conversations. I just had an epic meltdown in front of Alex and James about the Saints' incompetence letting Tom Brady and the Bucs win that game.
Yeah, I was listening to it through the earphones, and it was not safe for radio, to say the least. A lot of curse words were being uttered out of your mouth. Put some soap in that mouth, son. Wash it out.
One thing I'll say before we move on is it's incompetence to play prevent against Tom Brady, where he loves the flat and the check down.
Well,
all right.
It is what it is. So let's go ahead. Let's move into Week 14. Pick'em, and here are the latest standings. There is a tie for first place. Aiden went 8-1 last week. He nailed his upset pick, Bengals over Chiefs. That 8-1 record tied Aiden with myself. We each have 54 wins.
Gosh, I came back strong. Y'all thought y'all were going to pull away, and then I have a strong week like this.
So we each have 54 wins. Last week, I went 4-3, no upset. Alex, you have 52 wins. You went 5-2 last week, so you had a pretty good week.
Did you get your upset?
He had no upsets.
Oh, you picked the Dolphins, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I did.
And Marcos went 6-1 last week. Good job, Marcos. You have 32 wins.
Marcos, you picked the Giants or the Commanders to upset one of those teams.
The
right?
Giants is my upset, and they tied.
They tied,
and it
so-
didn't count.
Yeah, it
so-
didn't count. The tie does not
I
count
could have went 9-1.
as a win or a loss. It's just, it's nothing.
Yeah,
So-
the ties are basically nothing.
So there we go. So let's move into week number 14, and let's go ahead and start with the first game out. It is the Vikings, who are 10-2, at the Lions, who are 5-7, and surprisingly, the Lions are the favorite by 2.5 points. That is kind of crazy to me, but the Lions have been playing pretty well. The Lions are at home. They got some momentum, and they're playing against the Vikings. Let's start with Alex first. Alex, who do you got in this game?
This game it seems like a trap almost. Vegas must do something that we don't, because why are the Vikings not favored in this game?
I have no clue, man. It's
The Lions have been
mind-boggling.
playing good football. They've won 4 out of their last 5.
Go ahead and make us pissed, but I think I could find something that'll show why. I think
I'm
the
almost scared to. I think I'm just gonna straight pick the Vikings, no upset.
Okay, so you're going Vikings,
Well,
all right?
Well, so you're not gonna pick that as your upset, okay, Marcos?
I want the Lions.
So you're going to go Lions, Marcos. All right, Lions, you like the way they've been playing?
I like their offense, and their defense has been much improved lately.
Okay. Aiden, what about you?
I got to look up, because I think the Vikings have always had trouble playing in Detroit.
Okay.
And I think that's why, man.
And earlier in the season,
Marcos, do you have it
game.
as your upset?
No, I picked the Lions.
You picked the Lions to win.
What about you, James?
I'm going to go ahead and pick the Vikings, but just straight. No upset.
It's too sketchy to pick it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just too weird. This line is too weird. I'm too hesitant, and I don't want to pick the Lions. I don't know. This is honestly like a coin flip game for me, so I'm going to pick the Vikings. Who do you got, Aiden?
You know what, man? It's the easiest upset to pick. Give me the Vikings upset.
All right, so Aiden's going to go Vikings upset special right out of the gate. Vikings and Lions throwing it down today at 12 noon. Next game up on the docket, we have Jets at Bills. Jets at Bills. Jets are 7-5. They're coming off of a loss to the Vikings. The Bills are 9-3. The Bills are 10-point favorites at home. Who do we got? Alex.
This is an interesting one. I think if you're a betting man, that 10-point favorite for the Bills is something I'm not too happy with. I would definitely take the Jets on that one. It's hard not to go with Mike White. It's really hard because he's made this team look very good recently.
Yeah, Alex, you're starting to break up on us a little bit. Anyway,
Okay.
continue.
It sounded like he picked the Jets.
Marcos and James just talking. I'll
right.
get Alex going.
Yeah, so
I got it.
there he is. There he is. Who did you pick for Jets and Bills?
It's hard not to want to pick Mike White, but as I said, he had a bit of a second game fall off after that first good game. I got to stick with the Bills.
Okay, so you're rolling with the Bills.
I don't think he played that bad. He threw for a lot of yardage.
He did. He played pretty bad.
He moved
but
the offense.
he had 2 picks.
Yeah, but I mean, he didn't play horrible.
He threw a pick in the end zone when he was trying to get it down there to tie the game. It was kind of a desperation throw. But Mike White did move the ball, and the Jets looked a lot better, a lot more competent on the offense. I do like what I see out of Mike White. I'm not going to pick them for my upset, but I will pick the Bills to win. I think the Bills win this game.
Yeah, I'm picking the Bills to win as well. I mean, the Jets are playing competitive, and I think they're well coached, but I think the record is I just don't see it, man.
I got the Bills too.
All right, so it's a clean sweep for all of us. We're going Bills over Jets. Next game up, Ravens at Steelers. The Ravens are 8-4. They're at the 5-7 Steelers. The Ravens will be without Lamar Jackson today. They're on the road in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is a 2-point favorite. Who do we got, Aiden? You're the Ravens fan. You go first.
Do you know this is the 4th straight game Lamar's missed against the Steelers?
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
That is an interesting note.
Because the Ravens and Steelers, Lamar had his injury, missed both Steelers games, and now this comes up. Man, the Ravens did not impress me at all against the Broncos. Thankfully, the Broncos were mid, and Russ is not cooking. Give me the Steelers in this one, man.
Oh, wow. So Aiden's going against his guys. He's going with the Steelers. Who do you got, Alex?
I'm going to go with the Steelers as well. I think with the mix of injuries and how the Ravens coaching staff has done in recent weeks, I really can't pick them. They're really shaky recently. It's kind of worrisome, so I'm going to pick the Steelers.
All righty. What about you, Marcos?
I got the Steelers as well. Everyone that's been listening knows that I've been really high on this team ever since TJ Watt's come back. They've looked different. He changes the team when he's on the field, both offense and defense. They look better. They play more together. And I think this is a different football team than they were earlier in the year.
I like what the Steelers have been able to put together recently.
Yep.
And it's in Pittsburgh. If it was in Baltimore, I probably would have more of a doubt that this.
I think I'm going to roll. I'm going with Steelers as well. So another clean sweep here for us. Next game up, it's the Bucks 6-6 at the 49ers 8-4. The Niners are home, and they are 3.5-point favorites. I'm going to go ahead and pick this one first.
I already know he's gonna.
And I am taking the Bucks as my upset special today. Tom Brady rolls into San Francisco. They smack around that rookie quarterback, Brock Purdy, and the Buccaneers get the victory. Upset special. I'm picking Bucks. Who do you got, Alex?
If you didn't do that, I was most likely going to do that. But now that you've picked the Bucks as the upset, I really have no motivation to, so I'm going to go with the 49ers.
Oh, okay. Okay. Niners, I feel you on that one. Did you like what you saw out of Brock Purdy? I know last week you were in the text group with us, and you weren't too impressed.
Yeah, and I was watching the game closely. I was a bit worried when he first came in, but after seeing him in that second half, he really wasn't all that bad. I'm not going to lie.
It seems like he could get the job done, at least.
Yeah, he did.
So,
and it seems like they're really confident in him.
What do you got, Marcos?
I got the 49ers. I probably would have picked this as my upset too, because I could just seeing Brady's comeback win. It's Tom Brady. You know, he's still Tom Brady, and he looks good. But I got the 49ers to win straight.
Aiden.
I got the 49ers to win. The Bucks are going to come off of that big high and whatnot, and I think they're going to lay kind of an egg. You know, the Niners beat a pretty good Dolphins team. I thought that was probably their most impressive win this season.
Next game up, let's go ahead and let's pick. Where's it at here? Patriots at Cardinals, excuse me. Patriots at Cardinals is the next game up. Why can't I find it? Oh, because it's the Monday night game, you dummy. I don't know why I skipped to the Monday night game, but here we are. 6-6 Patriots at 4-8 Cardinals. The Patriots are on the road in Arizona, but they're 1.5-point favorites. Who do we got? Patriots or Cardinals? Let's go with Aiden.
Again, I got the Patriots. I think this is gonna be a coaching mismatch, And the Cardinals have been really bad at home this year. Like, they've been abysmal. Knowing me as a Kyler Murray and James Conner fan, have them on my team, I know this, and they're gonna struggle to score early on again. And I think the Pats are gonna win decisively. So give me the Pats.
Who do you got, Marcos?
Give me Kyler Murray in the upset.
Oh, that's your upset special?
Yeah.
All right, so Marcos is going Cardinals upset. I got you right there.
I don't
Cardinals.
like it, but it is my upset.
What about you, Alex?
I'm going to go with the Patriots. If they can pressure Kyler Murray and shut down the run, I think they have enough coverage skills to be able to stop the pass as well. It seems like a really, really bad matchup for the Cardinals, so I'm taking the Patriots.
I'm going to roll with the Patriots as well to wrap that one up. We got 2 more games to pick. Sunday Night Football tonight. Dolphins 8-4 at Chargers 6-6. The Dolphins are on the road. The Dolphins are 3-point favorites in Los Angeles. Who do we got in this one? Let's go with Alex. Right back to you.
As a Justin Herbert fantasy manager, he gets Mike Williams back. The defense is always going to be suspect, but I'm taking the Chargers as my upset in a shootout.
There we go. Chargers as Alex's upset pick. I'm going to go and I'm going to roll with the Dolphins in this one. I like the Dolphins. They got an ugly taste in their mouth last week against the 49ers. I think Tua and company bounce back. Give me the Dolphins. Aiden, who do you got?
Man, the Chargers have been very disappointing to me because I thought they'd be like the first wild card team, like decisively in the playoffs, and they've been mid. I don't think their coaching is up to par now that I see it, and I think the Dolphins win by a touchdown.
All righty. And Marcos, who do you got?
I got the Dolphins.
Okay, Dolphins. So there we go. Alex goes Chargers as his upset. And the final game to pick here, Texans at Cowboys, 12 noon. It's going down right here on Keys with 11 a.m. pregame as soon as the sports rush is over. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Cowboys. Cowboys are a 17-point favorite. I'm going to say Cowboys 35. I'm going to go Texans 10, 35-10 Cowboys. What about you, Alex?
A 17-point favorite is something that you don't see in the NFL.
Very rare.
That is an absurd amount.
And they're going to cover.
It's hard to deny that it's warranted. Yeah, I'm going to take the Cowboys. I'll take Cowboys 31, Texans 10.
All righty. What about you, Marcos, Texans fan in here?
I said that they'd win by 50 earlier, but I think I just remembered that they are the worst team in the NFL. So I'll take the Cowboys 37-17.
37-17. And Aiden, you're wrapping it up.
Yeah, give me the Cowboys. Give me the Cowboys 34, Texans 13.
All righty, so we all got the Cowboys winning pretty big here.
Marcos, I know you watch Bryce Young play, and I know he's the guy y'all need.
We all got the Cowboys covering the spread. That is pretty interesting right there. So,
yeah,
hey.
It's kind of hard not to think they won't.
Here's the thing. If the Texans were routinely, competent, not saying, a mid-team, but, say, they're the Lions or Jags, they have a few more wins, this might be a game where it's really tight because Texans-Cowboys have always been tight games.
Yeah, this is the Texans are, the only team this year that have truly looked like they could easily just lose a game by 30.
Yeah.
No,
I 100%
agree.
This Texas team is just...
You're right. You're right about that.
They play competitive early on in the year, but they faltered badly now.
And the fact is they're better. They're a better team than they were last year. They're better, but they're significantly worse because of coaching. And this group just plays so bad
I thought
together.
the Texans played hard with David Culley last year.
They did. I think a lot of them were fighting for their jobs. They were all signed to one-year deals.
Yeah.
So that wraps up our NFL Pick'em. Alex, thank you for joining us, and we will talk later on today, my guy. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be a great Sunday with no Saints football, I can tell you that much.
There we go. You don't have to worry about those pesky Saints. There goes Alex Weister, and we will talk to him a little bit later on. That wraps up Pick'em. Coming up next, we'll dive into Major League Baseball's hot stove. A lot of signings happened, tons to dissect. We'll get into that after the break. Welcome back to the Sunday Sports Rush News Talk KEYS. James Espinosa, Aiden Ducker, and Marcos Matakin with you all the way till 11 a.m. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we have RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys. He's going to join us on the 1440 Keys hotline. We're going to talk the latest Cowboys rumors, who's coming back from injury, how the Cowboys have looked so far, and a little bit of Cowboys and Texans. We'll get RJ's perspective on that. RJ Ochoa, Blogging the Boys, coming up at 10:30. All right. Let's go ahead, guys, and let's transition into some Major League Baseball talk, because this past week, the winter meetings happened up in San Diego, and the hot stove was hot, hot, hot. Justin Verlander is officially gone.
Yep.
He signed a 2-year deal with the New York Mets. Justin Verlander is now a New York Met. He's heading to the Big Apple. Shout out to Justin Verlander. His time with the Astros will always be remembered. 102 games started, 2.26 ERA.
I mean, just his Astros tenure alone in the 4 years that he pitched is Hall of Fame right there.
11.4 K to 9 inning ratio. 3.87 postseason ERA, and 2 Cy Young Awards.
You know what's funny? Before he was an Astro, I used to think that he was overrated. I was one of those. And until I saw him in an Astros uniform, and then I realized, okay, he's really good.
I'm going to miss him.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss that guy.
You should miss him if you're an Astros fan.
I'm going to miss Kate Upton as well.
Yeah, it's a big loss
No.
with her.
No. She, in the stands, she's like diehard. She even flipped off a couple of Phillies fans. She brought the energy.
Well, she's going to be seeing the Phillies fans a lot more often.
Yeah.
And the Mets rotation is ridiculous right now.
Well, they lost the Grom.
Well, they signed Verlander, Kodai Senga, who throws 102 miles an hour and has absolutely filthy off-speed stuff from Japan.
Was he a pitcher?
Yes. He's disgustingly good.
Okay.
They still have Scherzer. They signed Quintana from St. Louis, who's a great young arm.
Yeah.
And then they still have Carlos Carrasco.
Bassett's up in the air. He's probably going to leave.
Yeah, he's probably going to leave, but those are huge signings.
The Mets always have potential. They're going to be a good team next year.
Maybe they're the next NL East team to make the World Series.
Possibly. Some latest rumors on the Astros. According to Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic, the Astros are interested in outfielders Andrew Benintendi, Michael Conforto, and they're interested in bringing back Michael Brantley, who is a free agent technically.
We need that solid outfield piece.
Would you rather bring back Brantley or bring in Benintendi or Michael Conforto?
I like, obviously, Brantley, Benintendi. It's just that Brantley's injury history scares me.
And he's getting a little bit older. I wouldn't mind seeing a guy like Andrew Benintendi come in.
Fully healthy, though, Brantley's the best player out of all three.
Yeah.
Fully healthy.
Benintendi's 28, Brantley is 35, and Conforto's only 29.
Yeah, man, but either one of those is fine. It's another solid piece, but the Astros lost out on Contreras. I'm hoping they re-sign Vasquez.
Yeah, so speaking of who the Astros lost out on, Wilson Contreras signed a 5-year deal with the Cardinals. He's going to be their starting catcher. Cody Bellinger signed a 1-year deal with the Cubs.
Yeah. Good riddance, Cody Bellinger.
He took it for the money.
Well, I think he took it because...
Yeah, the Cubs gave him a little bit more money than people thought he was going to get.
Number one, the Cubs aren't supposed to be that good. Number two, if Cody Bellinger does have a good year with a bad team and he's the star of that team, he'll enter free agency next year and probably get a big deal after that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like those 1-year prove-it deals. Like, hey...
He bet on himself.
Exactly. To have a good year and hit free agency next year. Big signing that happened. The Phillies signed shortstop Trey Turner to an 11-year deal worth $300 million.
You know, Trey Turner's a good player. I don't think he's worth that much.
That's a lot. But the Phillies, of course, are retooling. The Phillies are going to have another good team. They're going to be contenders again for the NL East, for the World Series.
Oh, yeah.
And signing Trey Turner only solidifies what they already have.
I mean, the Phillies aren't going to lose anybody notable, so.
Now, speaking of notable signings, the Yankees signed Aaron Judge to a 9-year deal worth $360 million. Judge is back in the pinstripes.
I mean, this was gonna happen, and it wouldn't have been fair. It wouldn't have been as fair. It wouldn't have been as fun beating the Yankees if Judge wasn't there. So I'm all for it.
He turned down more money at other places, and honestly, maybe even a better chance to win. But I think truly, I mean, he. It was reported that he wanted it that he chose this for like legacy.
reasons.
Yeah, and I think it's just because he wants to be a legacy Yankee. He wants to be a Joe DiMaggio, spend his whole career there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's how he wants to be remembered.
You're right.
The ownership of the Yankees, he finally took a page out of his dad's playbook. Hal Steinbrenner, the late George Steinbrenner, and they went full court press and like they were really wanting to bring Judge back.
You know, a part of me wanted to see Judge go to the Giants because he did flirt with them a little bit, and that was the other rumored team that was really in on Aaron Judge. But a part of me is pretty happy that he stayed because I do like seeing legacy players. I do like seeing players stick it out with one team for their entire career. And if that's what Aaron Judge wants to do, then he's got a little bit more of my respect in that regard.
And then let's be real, he hasn't really been that much of a problem for the Astros to handle in the postseason.
No, and you know, a 9-year deal, and that much money.
Yankees fans know they booed him.
Yeah, a 9-year deal and worth that much money, that's a lot. I'm going to be curious to see how Judge looks towards the end of this deal because this is a guy who swings and misses a lot. He strikes out a ton. And, you know, as you age, that power tends to decrease a little bit.
Well, unless you're Albert Pujols. Oh, did you hear that whole boss thing? Whole Goldilocks thing?
Yeah, I heard about that. Apparently, Major League Baseball had juiced baseballs, and the Yankees benefited from most of them. So take with that what you will. Another signing that happened, the Padres signed shortstop Xander Bogaerts to an 11-year deal.
Man, the Padres They had all this money, and they were just looking for somebody to give it to. And
all the eggs are in the basket for the Padres.
Isn't the NL so top heavy?
It really is.
But like top heavy. Like
I think the
Phillies, Padres, Dodgers, they all look insane. The Braves are still looking really good.
The NL's a really competitive league.
Honestly,
any one of those 5 teams can win it.
I think the Padres beating the Dodgers thing, that's like I think now they're the team. They're going to finally put it together and have a really good regular season. I think the Dodgers are falling back because they haven't really spent any money.
The Padres need to get there, man. They've been on the cusp. They've been one of these franchises that signed a ton of guys, that have traded for a ton of guys, and now they got their star shortstop in Xander Bogaerts. And this kicks Fernando Tatis Jr. out to the outfield now. So we'll see what happens with that, and that is your Major League Baseball Hot Stove update. Lots of signings, lots of moves made. We'll keep you updated as the offseason progresses for Major League Baseball. But coming up next, it's RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys. He's going to be on the line. We're talking Dallas Cowboys up next. Keep it locked to the Sunday Sports Rush. Welcome back to the Sunday Sports Rush, News Talk KEYS. With you till 11 a.m. Don't forget, we got Cowboys pregame coming up as soon as the show is over at 11 a.m., followed by kickoff of Cowboys and Texans at 12 noon right here on KEYS 1440 AM and 98.7 FM, your home of the Cowboys in Corpus Christi and the Coastal Bend. It's James Espinosa, it's Aiden Ducker, it's Marcos Matakin with you. And without further ado, we have RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys on the 1440 Keys hotline. RJ, good morning, my guy. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Happy Sunday.
Yeah, happy Sunday to you. Happy Cowboys game day. It is Cowboys and Texans. And before we dive into that, let's start with last week, RJ. The 54-19 win over the Colts, 33 points scored in the fourth quarter alone. Is that the most impressive stretch you've ever seen the Cowboys play football in those 12 minutes?
You know, honestly, probably not. I hate to take anything away from it. Obviously, it was incredible. But that kind of thing only happens, because of some luck, right? You get some really bad play on the other side of things. And so the Cowboys certainly took advantage of all that. But I do think that I feel like they've just been more dominant at times. It just, it wasn't a fair fight. But I don't think anybody's complaining about that 1 week later.
No, definitely not. And then, of course, a couple of weeks back, they did have that 40-3 win against the Vikings. I guess, it's just it's pretty awesome to see Dallas, right? When they're able to turn it on and they're able to put things together, they have looked like the much better team than a majority of the teams that they faced this year. Now, when we talk about last week, the Zeke in the box celebration, is that the best celebration involving a Salvation Army kettle ever?
Probably. I think, the Thanksgiving Day one, the whack-a-mole was really great. People forget about T.O.'s in 2006. I loved that one, and that was kind of the very first. All he did was drop it in the bucket, which, really isn't that impressive of a thing when you've got all sorts of creativity flowing now. But But yeah, I mean, I like that they're incorporating some movement now. It's not just jumping in and everybody kind of cheering. There's a high level of creativity behind all these ideas.
And the fact that these guys are getting fined for it is, it is what it is in that regard. But hey, fun times are being had. And if you're a Cowboys fan out there, definitely enjoy this ride that this team is on. We're with RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys. James Washington is back, RJ, removed from the IR. He's on the active roster. The inactives just came out today, and James Washington is not on the inactive list versus the Texans. We expecting to see some James Washington on the field today?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how he doesn't get a sizable amount of snaps. I mean, he hasn't really played. I mean, he was injured very, very early into training camp, and so it's been a long time coming, obviously. He was the first external free agent that the Cowboys signed over the offseason, and so if this game goes the way that I think all of us are kind of thinking and certainly hoping with things running away from the Texans, it should provide an opportunity for James to kind of get involved and get acclimated. Next week would hopefully provide a similar sort of opportunity against the Jaguars because everybody's obviously looking forward to 2 weeks from now when the Cowboys host the Eagles on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, you're right about that, man. A couple of games, Texans, Jaguars, of course, and then that big showdown Christmas Eve against the Eagles. I'm excited about Washington, coming back, and especially with all of this Odell Beckham talk that's been going on for the past month or so. And then this past week, things finally come to a head. They meet with him. There's nothing transpires out of that. And then Odell has these comments, RJ, where he pretty much said he doesn't want to be in the regular season. He wants to be ready for the playoffs. Do you feel like that's a reason why, or the main reason why, the Cowboys didn't pull the trigger on bringing in Odell Beckham?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's really been a really fun, maybe a little bit longer than a month, maybe about 5-6 weeks. But it was always going to come down to the medicals, and I do think that a lot of Cowboys fans understood that, and so we just kind of let the moment be what it was and enjoyed it and kind of steered into it. But I don't think it's super disappointing. It just kind of is what it is. And so I think a lot of people are proud of the Cowboys for being able to kind of walk away from this situation. I mean, the Giants and the Bills clearly feel the same. It shows some growth, I think, from the Cowboys that they can head home at 9 o'clock. They don't have to stay till closing time anymore. And so that's a good thing, and that's a positive sign. But it was fun while it lasted. But I do think the Cowboys are moving on just the same way that New York and Buffalo.
Did you get a sense that Cowboys players were getting a little bit frustrated with the Odell talks? I mean, I know DeMarcus Lawrence had some comments saying, if it's going to be a circus, then I don't want him. And, CeeDee Lamb even sounded a little bit put off at times when he was getting asked the Odell questions. Do you think that just kind of wore on the guys?
I think that anything that is repetitive wears on them. I mean, it was, when's Dak coming back, right? What are your thoughts on Cooper Rush? Jerry's comment about, hoping he plays well enough. There's a controversy. There's always kind of, there's a topic that people are obsessed with. And this kind of became that. And, it is unfortunate that it kind of fizzled this way. But I do think, it provided a welcome distraction. I mean, nobody is really, putting a target on the Cowboys, talking about how great they are, which I think ultimately is a good thing. I think it's allowed them to kind of not smell themselves too much. They're still 9-3. They're one of the best teams in the NFL, but they're not leading their division. And so this provided a great sort of piece of meat for everybody to focus on. But I think that they've answered all the questions that they possibly can when it comes to Odell Beckham Jr.
We're here with RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys. Make sure you guys go out to bloggingtheboys.com, follow all their work, follow all their podcasts, amazing things they're doing out there. So RJ, Dak Prescott, right? Since his return, we know the numbers. The Cowboys offense has been pretty stout, leading the league in points, all that good stuff. What is it about the way the offense is performing right now that has you thinking this thing could be set up for a long playoff run?
I think it's, they can avoid mistakes, or they can survive mistakes is probably the better way to put it. Dak has had some ball security issues certainly since he's come back, but you could argue that is born out of aggression, born out of the Cowboys, trying to be that way. And they've not only survived, but for the most part dominated their opponents. I mean, I think, last week was not the best Dak Prescott game by any means. It was hardly a failure or anything like that. But I mean, they wound up winning 54-19, and that's a bit of an aberration, and that doesn't happen all the time. But I think it says a lot, and it provides a high level of confidence that you can play any kind of game, good, bad, or anywhere in between, and still survive, still come out on the end of things. And so they can run the ball, they can throw the ball, they can almost move at will, and I think that separates them from a lot of teams. I mean, they are truly one of the most dangerous offenses in the NFL. Which is right where you want to be in the middle of December.
It seems like we're seeing CeeDee Lamb emerge lately, especially in the last few weeks. I mean, last week, we saw him make some amazing catches. We've seen him make amazing catches for the past month or so, whole season, matter of fact. But it does really seem like to me, watching and just observing that CeeDee Lamb is really kind of stepping up into this wide receiver one role. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I do think that, he's been more, pick a cliche you want, in control, dominant, whatever. And it's sort of been hiding in plain sight. That there's been so much happening kind of around CD that we pay attention, but there are other things that kind of tantalize us more in the moment. He's right there. I mean, he doesn't have the kind of physical aggression that say a Justin Jefferson does, but from a production standpoint, he's up there with Jefferson or Tyreek Hill or Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs. He is one of the best top-flight wide receivers in the NFL. And again, he's not a physically monstrous person. I think people see A.J. Brown, and he's so intimidating from a physical standpoint that they just kind of fall over at that. But he is truly, truly, truly one of the best receivers in the NFL, which is strange. I mean, he's probably had the most Jekyll and Hyde season, I think, of anybody on the Cowboys. But thankfully, he's at the right place here in the most important time of the year.
Yeah, RJ, we were talking about the Colts, the Cowboys' big win over the Colts, and I want to focus on their defense a little bit. I mean, I don't know how many times in NFL history teams drop 54 points with their quarterback only throwing for 170 yards.
It is. So to your point, I mean, it's rare, and I mean, it's rare to have any quarter, let alone a final quarter, the way the Cowboys did. But it speaks to, when there's blood in the water, their defense can swarm. And it almost becomes unfair. It almost becomes a matter of feeling sorry for somebody. I think we all, on one tiny level, felt that from Matt Ryan a week ago.
Yeah.
They're relentless. They have pass rushers for days. Obviously, they have some secondary issues, and I think we're all excited to see Kelvin Joseph hopefully put an end to that today. But they have seemingly an unlimited number of pass rushers, and that's a luxury in today's NFL.
Yeah, and focusing on this Texans game today at noon, what do you think are their keys to victory? And because you can make the argument that the Texans are the worst team in the NFL, but they play with a lot of pride, and this is a rivalry of sorts. The Texans haven't been too competitive this year, but what do you think are some of the keys to the Cowboys to not fall into that trap game mentality?
I mean, I think it's, obviously taking it seriously and not, we've seen the Cowboys, independent of it being against the Texans, we've seen them start slow in noon games. We've seen them kind of come out of the gate, in a lackadaisical way. And I don't think that's a circumstance of them smelling themselves or anything, but I think they just are, they take a little while to rev up the engine. And so I think the key is come out hot. And if you want to take any time off, make it be the fourth quarter. Put the game so far out of hand, let Cooper Rush go to work and warm up James Washington like we were talking about. And so you could call it starting fast. You could call it starting with intensity, but they have to, they have to bury them right away. I mean, I'm not afraid. I don't think any of us are afraid of the Texans coming back and making it a game. But you're better than that. I mean, you're so much better than that. So you should put this thing away. It should be an enjoyable afternoon for everybody. Some people want to turn the game off or whatever. It should be that type of day. And so make it that type of day and don't let it be any other time.
There we go. We're with RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys, and we do have Cowboys and Texans coming up at noon with 11 a.m. pregame following the show. RJ, you did mention, Anthony Brown, Kelvin Joseph. Anthony Brown, of course, is lost. He's going to be gone. Kelvin Joseph expected to replace him. There have been times when the fan base has been very critical of Kelvin Joseph. Is that fair? Is that foul? And are you optimistic that Kelvin Joseph can step in and be adequate in Anthony Brown's place?
I think it's certainly more than fair, especially if you're evaluating the entirety of Kelvin Joseph and what his career has been to this point. If you're talking about just on field, I think it's fair as well. I mean, he hasn't been that great of a player. You can argue last week when he got burned for the touchdown, what can he do? And, like, he's not the worst corner to ever live or anything like that, but he's a second-round pick. I mean, he's supposed to, show elite talent, and we haven't quite seen that yet. He's made some mental mistakes. He had the awful interference penalty in the early part of last week's game against the Colts. And so I think people are just kind of, I don't know that anybody's expecting him or, fairly expecting him at least to be this elite player right away. But you have to show some sort of justification. You have to show why you were a second-round pick, why the Cowboys believe in you, why they went on a limb for you, why they have supported you this entire time. You have to give us something. And it feels like we haven't gotten that yet. And maybe that is being a little bit dramatic, but it has to happen now. I mean, there's no other option. I mean, he has to be this team's starting corner opposite of Trayvon Diggs. So it's throw into the deep water, hope you survive, because if you don't, there are going to be a lot more problems, down the line.
Last question for you, RJ, and this one's kind of a loaded question. I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but are the Cowboys legitimate Super Bowl contenders?
Yeah, I don't see why they're not. I mean, you can argue that, the way that their sort of presentation is from, statistical perspectives right now is inflated by the last month. The big win against the Vikings you mentioned, obviously last week against the Colts. Those things help with their point differential or their DVOA ranking, things like that. But, I mean, I think that's important. Were they this good of a team in September and early October? No. But, I mean, I don't care that they weren't. I mean, they're that team now. The tournament starts in about a month. And so, who they are now, they can go toe-to-toe with anybody in the NFL. And I don't know that they'll win the Super Bowl or not, obviously, but they certainly can. And if they don't, I think it's important to acknowledge that that's not a failure. I've talked a lot about this week. They are likely going to win their 10th game of the season today. And when they do, it will be their second consecutive season with double-digit wins. They haven't done that as a franchise since 1995 and 1996. And so they probably won't win the Super Bowl. I mean, if you lay out odds and likelihoods, it is unlikely that they will because it's so difficult. But even if they don't, they are proving to be a team that is here every single year. And if you do that, if you are in the tournament every single year, if you want to live off of odds and likelihoods and projections, the odds are that at some point fate will smile upon you and it will be your turn. So I don't know that it's their turn this year, but they are morphing into a team that is hanging out at this part of the NFL, and that's a really exciting thing with regards to the future. It's equally exciting that it could finally happen this year, but they're in the division with a really good team. And even if they got through it, they still have to maybe play the Niners. They still have to maybe play the Vikings or the Bucs or whoever, and then the Chiefs or the Bills or whatever. It's a really hard thing to do, but they have just as good of a chance as anybody at this point.
There we go, RJ Ochoa. Hey, RJ, man, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your energy and everything this morning on this Cowboys game day. Thank you for joining us, and we'll definitely have to catch up with you later on towards the playoffs, man. We're excited about that, so thank you once again.
Sounds good. I love that. Y'all have a great day. Enjoy the game, and Merry Christmas to you guys.
Yes, sir. You too. Merry Christmas to you. There goes RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys, just boom, 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 boom. A wealth of information. One of my favorite guys to talk to when it comes to Cowboys analysis, breakdowns, everything. They do a great job at Blogging the Boys, so make sure you follow all their work, their podcasts, their written articles, everything like that. We're going to go ahead and kick it to the break. When we come back, we'll dissect a little bit of what RJ said, and then we'll talk some Texas high school football. So keep it locked. It's the Sunday Sports Rush. Welcome back to the Sunday Sports Rush, News Talk KEYS. Last segment here, James Espinosa, Aiden Ducker, and Marcos Matakin. We just had RJ Ochoa on of Blogging the Boys. He broke everything down for us. We're talking in between the break, Marcos and I, and just the professionalism and the wealth of knowledge that RJ has. I don't know. He might be one of the best at talking Cowboys I've ever gotten a chance to interview, and that's because we've interviewed a few people in the Cowboys world, and always a great time to have RJ on. We will podcast his interview after the show at some point, so keep your eyes out on that. Go to the 1440keys.com podcast page or like and subscribe to us on Spotify. We usually have our live radio shows podcasted in the afternoon, usually. So it'll be out there today. So keep your eyes out on that. But that was awesome. Good stuff right there from RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys. All right, guys. Texas high school football was happening all this weekend. And it was the regional finals. Or, excuse me, not the regional finals. It was the state semifinals. Final four Winner goes to Jerry World in Dallas next week. And let's go ahead and start off with Refugio. Refugio gets the win on Thursday night. They defeated Timpson by a final score of 17-14. They got a game-winning field goal in the late seconds of the game, and that was the only lead that Refugio had all game. The Bobcats are going back to the Class 2A division title game for the first time since 2019, and they will face Holly in the championship game up in Dallas. So good job by the Refugio Bobcats. We got some audio, Aiden, of Jason Herring, the head coach of Refugio, talking about the Bobcats' big win on Thursday night.
I'm not sure how we just did that, but this team has found a way to win all year long ever since the Hitchcock game. We basically beat Shiner on the last play in regular season, basically beat Shiner on the last play, and then our defense made a stop there on maybe the best football player I've ever had to defend, number 10. I don't know that I've coached anybody even close to 10. I mean, Dalton's close, but they're different. I'm super proud. Our defense came through when they had to, and we were able to grind out enough yards to win the game. We struggled in the passing game. We didn't throw the ball. I mean, we did all right, but we missed some easy throws that you can't miss. But I'm super proud of the community.
So there we go. Jason Herring on the win for Refugio. They're back in the title game, Aiden.
Yeah, I think it was I believe who was the player he was talking about?
Number 10 on Timpson.
Bussy.
Yeah,
Terry
there we
Bussey,
go.
yeah.
And we talked about that last week with Quentin Martinez, that was going to be one of the dudes, and he's a Division I type of player. Quentin said it. You heard Coach Herring say it right there, one of the toughest guys he's ever had to coach against. But Refugio gets the win. They'll be going for another state title coming up this week up in Jerry World.
Yeah, Bussy, he might be good enough to play in the SEC. Like, he's that
legitimate.
Yeah, he's that good of a player. He has one more year.
I guess you could say he's bussin'.
Yeah.
Marcos's face is one of disgust right now.
That the laugh I did was a laugh of like.
That was a pity laugh.
That
was a pity laugh. Moving on. Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial faced College Station last night up in the Alamo Dome. And unfortunately, the Veterans Memorial Eagles season has come to an end. They lost 33-7 last night to College Station. It was a 20-0 run for College Station, which broke things open in the final 2 quarters of play. And Veterans Memorial, for the second time in the last 3 seasons, comes up 1 game short of playing for the Class 5A D1 state championship. The Eagles season is over. College Station moves on. And shout out to the Eagles for having a great year.
Yeah, and Vets was in this game in the first half, just like a couple years ago against Cedar Park. They were in that game as well. That pick 6 at the end of the first half was deflating. That was like a gut punch.
Yeah,
that they didn't recover from. I feel like College Station, when you're the favorite and you get a big play like that heading into halftime, it usually doesn't do well for the underdog. And I'm proud of Vets for keeping it competitive for at least 3 quarters. College Station just kind of grinding this away, and they pulled it out at the end. But
yeah, they did.
Good, but solid effort from Vets. They did the area proud, and yeah, man. It just College Station is the better team.
One of these days, a Corpus Christi ISD team is gonna knock that door down.
Oh yeah,
one of these days it's gonna happen.
It's coming for sure. The coaching's getting a lot better. Credit to Brenda Marshall for the hire she's made and whatnot. And it's gonna happen. We're used to seeing like Callan usually make these deep runs and whatnot, but it's good to see CCISD finally get on the doorstep. They just got to knock that door down.
Yeah, so tough loss for the Eagles. Their season is done, but for the next week or so, we'll be following Refugio and hoping those guys can bring home another title, and I think that'd be great, obviously, for them.
They're favored against Holly. Now, Holly made the state last year, and they lost to Shiner. They kept that game close in the first half, and Shiner pulled away. Refugio should get the job done. I think it's going to be another tight game in the first half, but Refugio should pull away.
That game is happening Thursday, I believe, Thursday morning at 10:30 a.m. It's like one of the first state title games that's going to be contested.
Thursday at 10:30.
Mm-hmm. I have school. I work. I have work. I'm not on Christmas break yet.
I keep forgetting that. Yeah. It's a
So
week before.
Austin Westlake lost last night. Their 53-game winning streak was snapped to North Shore.
North Shore, man. I don't know how that team is so good every year. I mean, Westlake too, but one of those teams had to win.
Yeah. So next week we'll break
North
down.
Shore's last playoff loss was against Westlake a couple of years ago.
So next week we'll break down all the state title games and do a whole rundown of that.
I'm hoping that Duncanville coach finally gets one, man. He's also North Shore 3 times. It's eventually got to happen, right?
Duncanville versus North Shore Part 4 coming up. That's going to be a great one. Go ahead, Marcos.
Speaking of 4, Austin Westlake's 54-game winning streak was 4th longest all-time in Texas high school football history.
That was probably one of the best Texas. I mean, well, we're seeing 2 of them right now, North Shore and
yeah, one of the best runs that they've ever had, and that's a prominent program who's won many state titles. And, hey, they ran into a foe that was game, and that's what happens. And there we go. So congratulations to Refugio for making it back to the 2A state title game. And congratulations to Veterans Memorial for another great season. You guys represented the Coastal Bend very well. That's going to wrap up the Sunday Sports Rush episode number 98. Shout out to everybody who listened. Shout out to RJ Ochoa for getting on the line with us and giving us some Cowboys breakdown. Shout out to Alex Weister for calling in for his NFL picks. Aiden, great job as always. Marcos Matakin, amazing, sir. Good work.
Thanks, James. I appreciate it. And thank you, RJ Ochoa.
And for everybody out there, have a great Sunday. No more questions. We'll talk to you next week. Go Cowboys! Pregame show up next.